we're delighted to welcome, she's a weekly feature, the First Lady of Reform, Sarah Pochin, the MP for Runcorn and Helsby. Good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy. How are you?
I'm well, and before we start, Big Mark, who pushes the buttons and is desperate for a breakfast club, I said I don't think she's an MP. I think she's an estate agent. Nobody has a kitchen that clean.
Do you know what? I get home so late at night and then leave normally early in the morning. I've never, ever even switched my oven on. Honestly, it's terrible. No wonder it's clean.
He said you lived on takeaway. Sarah, let's get straight to it. The fallout, and I'm being straight with you about Nadhim Zahawi yesterday, and I have to be very straight in what I'm going to say to the viewers and listeners this morning. You've got a situation with reform whereby half of the people who support reform will say, they need more experience. Are you ready for government? Do you need good people? The other half say, well, hold on a minute, why are you inviting all these people or being approached by these people from a party that failed? So two things I want to say. I'm not even sure that you know this, but I spent the weekend as an independent presenter, grilling on camera nigh on 200 would-be reform MPs for the Scottish and Welsh parliaments. And 100% as an independent presenter was very impressed with the quality that I saw. Very, very impressed. It was probably a lot better than I imagined it was going to be. That's the first point I'd make. The second is this. For all the millions of people in this country that have come over to reform because they like what they hear, a huge number of those would be traditional Tories who feel that the Tory party left them. So what's the difference between them and politicians changing their mind?
Look, I left the Tories myself 5 years ago in absolute disgust at what was happening in that Tory party and how they were not representing the will of the people. So I understand that there are Conservatives, former Conservatives out there looking for a home to go to. And Reform is now a party that represents former Conservative views, former Labour views. Look at my constituency of Runcorn and Helsby. We took such a massive part of the Labour vote in that by-election. So we are a home for people that are fed up with the former uni party, as we call it, the Conservatives, the Labour, who have let down everybody in this country.
Do you think that this is just optics? Do you think it would help reform in this debate if there were high-level Labour MP defections?
Look, you know what? I think what we're looking for are good brains, genuine people that are in this job for the right reason. And I would hope that people realise that I am one of those people, you know, doing it because we care. Yeah. And absolutely, if there are people of that quality in the Labour Party, then yes, of course we need to look at taking those people too. You know, we need a selection of people that represent the views of the British people. It actually doesn't matter really where they've come from. It's about what they want to do next.
Couldn't agree more. Right, let's get to it. I was shocked this morning, Sarah, while you were tidying your kitchen. I came in 4:30, 4:45 to discover that this government, under Keir Starmer, has abandoned plans to make digital ID cards mandatory for workers just months. Well, it was October, he said it was essential. That's his 13th U-turn, and we can deal in platitudes and throw stuff out, but the hard reality is this country is on its backside. People are really struggling, and they see a leader who is so lacking in, I think, political DNA that almost on a daily basis, anything he says, you want to just think the complete opposite, don't you? It's a disgrace.
The best policies that this Prime Minister are coming out with are the ones he U-turns on. And 13 U-turns, let's just hope that the 14th one is that he U-turns around Downing Street and walks out and lets somebody competent replace him.
Well, Matt Vickers from the Tory party, the deputy chairman who was on this morning, said that he would have money that the next U-turn will be this, and you were a magistrate, this disgustingly ludicrous suggestion that court cases without juries should be the new thing. Because I've always strongly believed, as I know you have, that, you know, having your peers involved safeguards so much about our democracy. They'll have to U-turn on that as well, won't they?
Well, they will, because if nothing for no other reason, as in so many of these U-turns, their own backbenchers are rebelling. And that is a key driver for so many of the U-turns that the Prime Minister is now embarrassingly, almost on a daily basis, having to announce. But yet, trial by jury, something 20 years in the courts, as you know, that I served, something very, very important that we maintain, and that is the right to have your peers, as you've just said, rule, effectively make the decision in a court. We cannot have a situation that the Labour government want, where one judge is able, without scrutiny, to make decisions on long prison sentences. That's not acceptable. That has never been the way that the British justice system works.
Presumably, you were a magistrate, and maybe I've got this wrong, right? But we've seen examples of judges who will have a political agenda or will have an opinion, and I'm sure that most people have a political agenda or an opinion. Is not the jury idea the safety net and the balance of different opinions so that the evidence can be equated and a decision in sort of common sense terms can be made, rather than an emotional decision based on, well, I really feel strongly about this? Is that not the argument for jury trials?
The whole point of a jury trial is that the judge will guide the jury on the legality side of things, but that the people, the 12 members of the jury, will actually make the decision about whether the defendant is guilty or not guilty. And that combination is what is so important. And it's important because without that, without a jury, then the judge is answerable to nobody. And I talk a lot about the politicization currently of our judicial system. And this is yet another step towards that. So I 100% think he should be binning this policy and U-turning yet again on this policy.
It will definitely happen. Front page of The Sun today, your response, always welcome. The Grim Reaper, well, the Inn Reaper, I should say, Rachel Reeves from Accounts. Guinness up by 4p a pint, some triples to be made weaker. Reeves knew that 5,000 pubs will be hit. Again, I go to Matt Vickers, gave me a fact I didn't know this morning. 118,000 people in the hospitality and pub industry have lost their jobs in the 18 months since this shower came to power. I like the way that worked, to be honest. That was from the top of my head. This is a government that talked about growth, and they're decimating a really important industry, aren't they, Sarah?
You know, look, for a start, I'm a Guinness drinker, so 4 people on a pint, I'm not happy about. Yeah, I love Guinness.
My wife likes it. My wife likes a Guinness. Morning, Vic. Morning, Ollie. Morning, Iris. It's true. She likes a Guinness and the rugby. I didn't know that. It's quite
I have a Guinness at the rugby too. And Lee tried to make me have a pint of Guinness the other night, and I said I can't possibly walk around the bar in the House of Commons carrying a pint. It's not very ladylike.
Can I ask Sarah Pochin, the First Lady of Reform, can you split the G?
Oh. I don't know.
Do you know what that means?
Could we try that privately, Jeremy, and then maybe we could do it one morning? I'm not sure what I'm getting myself into there.
My wife's listening. Split the G means that you drink the pint of Guinness to the exact moment where the G on the glass is split. It's nothing to do with a piece of string. Anyway, we're moving on. It's absolutely fine. Christian's nearly fallen off his chair. Excellent. No, seriously. I mean, she is destroying a business. Part of our society that is so important for so many reasons.
Do you know what? A pub is like a mini parliament, and that's what Labour hates. They want to stymie debate. They want to stop at free speech. We know that. And a pub is exactly where we should be able to go in, bash out politics, you know, give our opinions, and that is what the Labour government hates about pubs. But
isn't it ironic that they're trying to stop us going to pubs when most of their MPs have been banned from pubs by landlords who are so angry? You know.
Do you know? I read one pub a day has had to shut under this Labour government. This is the bedrock of our culture, our society. You know, Brits love a pub, and they are destroying that.
I couldn't agree more. Loads in the news, and there's loads of things that I'd love your opinion on. Obviously, I don't know. Did you see the story about the Chinese embassy in London?
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Samara Gill. And should we? How long have you? You know, we won't play it now. We'll play complain a bit, but she basically went to investigate yesterday, our new roving reporter, and quite rightly, there seems to be real fear amongst people that Starmer's sort of become Peking's poodle. This massive, great building's going to be built right next door to sort of a security place for Britain where all sorts of information is held, and that he seems to want to do nothing about it. But we need to wise up to this issue.
Listen, this is something that reform would absolutely not allow to happen. So for anyone that doesn't know, the Chinese new super embassy is being allowed to be built just by our Tower of London, right in the heart of our capital city. And not only that, there's talk now about the sort of basements, the underground offices are mere feet away or meters away for modern people from very important cabling, communications network. And the Americans and our government should be highly concerned about the risk. Look, the Chinese, they want to sabotage us. They like to spy on us. We know that they've had spies in the very heart of government, and I have no doubt that there will still be spies in the heart of our government today. Why are we letting them get closer and closer? Look, we need to have good relations with the Chinese. They are an important global
But on a balanced
force,
level, not kowtowing, right? Not kowtowing.
And not right in the heart of our capital city.
Couldn't agree more. Sarah, just before we let you go to clean your kitchen, yesterday was probably one of those bizarre moments of all doing this job with Starmer, because on the one hand, he jumped up and down and said, and I'd love your take on this, you know, X should be banned. The Grok AI is a disgrace. The sexualisation of non-consequential intimate images of kids, fundamentally wrong. And let me just say, I've been saying it for 2 days, absolutely agree. Completely agree. High tech needs to be brought to task. But if you just go for X, Keir, then you get accused of free speech charges, because what about the other platforms? And then just to make himself look like a complete idiot, he then launches his latest policy on immigration via TikTok, which just left us all going, what is this man on? Overnight, I don't know if you know this news, X has now restricted Grok from generating sexualised images of women and kids, which is great. Starmer will say this is a win. However, it's not dealt yet with requests to put men in bikinis. They're going to allow that. So that picture of Starmer in a bikini will continue to be shown. But where are you on the free speech debate? Where's reform on this?
Look, it's really awful what has been happening, and obviously, you know, I would come down hard on any social media platform that allows the sexualization of women and men in this way. It's truly horrible, and I do believe that there are female MPs, even we were talking about it yesterday in the chamber, who have had this happen to them. Look, I don't look at these platforms for this very reason, so I have no idea what's out there, if anything, about myself, but I just don't go looking for it. But the fact is, of course, we have to clamp down on it, but we cannot ban X. You know, if it's not X, it's going to be another platform. There will always be some way, unfortunately, of people that want to create this type of horrible imagery, finding a way to do so. So it's not about clamping down on X. It's about working with these platforms to try and make sure they police in every possible way they can to stop this happening.
I agree. And also what this asks, you think about the pubs. You think about smoking, you think about X. What happened to saying to your public, we trust you to make your own judgment? You know, if I'm these images, I'm a father of 6, disgusting, and I'd round the buggers up and throw them away the key. But what about the people that are sourcing this? You know, we live in a country, and I'm sorry to have to say this, it go down like a lead balloon with certain people, where our Prime Minister wants to restrict X for his own reasons and has done absolutely nothing to put Hugh Edwards in jail and get back the money he gets every year in a pension. He's a paedophile walking around the streets of this country, having looked at and done what he did with all of those children. Outrageous. I just think it's priorities. I just think we ought to be able to say to people, OK, there will always be people who make bad decisions, but, you know, we trust you to make the right decision, to go to the pub, to have a discussion, to not do that. I don't know. It just sounds wrong to me, you know.
But you're right. It's about demand and supply. Look, if
Yeah,
people weren't looking at these images, then they wouldn't be out there, would they? And this stuff wouldn't be being developed.
absolutely
So I
right.
think there's a lot to do. You're absolutely bang on when you say if people don't look at it, then it won't be out there. But there is this balance about free speech. And so, you know, as I said, it's not about banning X. It's about making sure that these sites are policed appropriately. But we must retain freedom of speech. And I know that the left will criticize reform, criticize people like me for saying that. But we know I'm a massive advocate for the safety of women and girls, children, you know, in all different areas. You talked about grooming gangs. You mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
Look, I am taking up that mantle for reform. I spent some time yesterday talking to Maggie Oliver. I am going to be going in so hard on this
Do you know
stuff
what
because
somebody
it's all,
said? Do you
it's
know what
all
somebody
linked.
said this morning to Matt Vickers? And I know that the Kemi Badenoch gets 6 questions. Nigel might get 1. I don't know. The very first question this viewer said, every single day to Keir Starmer should be one of the most disgusting stains on our society is that grooming gang that has not been followed through by police for whatever reasons, concerned that they're going to alienate a particular part of this country. That should be the first question to this slippery toad every single day. When are you going to have this inquiry and do right by our children? I think that's absolutely nailed on. Your kitchen is the clean, and Mark is in awe of your kitchen. But Sarah, on a serious note, you do an amazing job. We thank you very, very much indeed. We'll speak to you very soon. Fantastic. Sarah Pochin, Reform's MP for Runcorn and Helsby there on Breakfast, 8:20. We're live across the United Kingdom.